Welcome to the Art of Restraint Play with me, Sarah Silverstein, the host behind Closed Doors membership. I was just shooting the shit with my gal on the live for too long, so this might be a hyper speed deep dive in, or not light dive into it. We're gonna do a little bit more down the line, but I've been having a lot of fun talking about different kinks with people and how they can start to get into them. And one of the first ones that I was ever introduced to was restraint play. If you have a similar lived experience like I do, where you were at a boy's house when you were younger and he whipped out those fuzzy handcuffs and you were like, what in the dear God is happening here? We're the same. Hi. I was saying before, like, that was never my go-to want to play with that. Like, it just wasn't it. But when I started to discover that there were many other ways to have fun with their strengths, that's when I started to be like, oh, wow, like, let's explore. So this is going to be our little dipping our toe into the joy of all of it. So I just encourage you to have an open mind and an open heart and maybe just get curious on whatever it is that I will be saying and sharing on here. And maybe you want to try it out. Maybe you want to see how they feel. So this is just going to be the basics of it. And I love restraint play because it's a sensual and like kind of creative way to explore trust and connection that can lead to that moment of surrender if you feel safe and comfortable with. So anytime you are playing with any sort of kink, you need to be having an excessive amount of communication before getting into it. I am the biggest proponent of talking everything through until you feel like, oh my gosh, do I need to talk more? And the answer is going to be yes, a little bit more, because you want to make sure that your boundaries are going to be respected. That if you say, hey, I need to get out of here, you're going to be able to get out of there. Because if you're the person being tied up, if you are then restrained completely and you feel like you can't get out of it, or you're not with somebody who you feel safe with, hello, the welcoming of trauma, you know? So just being aware of that. One of the kind of go-to things in the land of kink is kind of using colors as a way to express, your comfort level and where you're at. Green meaning green light go, yellow meaning, hey, let's take a pause, red being get me the hell out of this as quickly as possible. Creating a safe word can also be really helpful for you. But the emotional aspects of this are going to be trust, vulnerability, and playfulness. And if you don't feel safe and comfortable to dive into all of those aspects with whomever you are with, you're going to want to say, hey, let's revisit this at a later date and time. And I love an excessive amount of checking in, right? Asking, how does it feel? How are you feeling? Checking in with yourself. Does anything need to be adjusted? And always starting a little bit looser than maybe you might want, especially if you're just getting into this. So let's talk a little bit more about safety essentials for a moment. We're going to want to avoid any sort of sensitive areas, kind of like the neck, unless this is something that you have explored with a partner before and both of you have a lot of knowledge on here. You don't want to start off with the neck area. This is where we have some major veins, so our blood flow. We want to be aware that we're not cutting off circulation, and especially here, your breathing can be restricted if anything's too tight, and you might not be able to say those words. So that is going to be kind of the advanced level area where you may want to be. Checking in on circulation is always super important. So if you're using, those fuzzy handcuffs or ties, you want to make sure that you're going to be able to fit two fingers between the restraint and the skin, just so nothing is too tight. And having a safety tool handy, aka some scissors. If you're using something that can be cut through, that will be really helpful. And if you are someone who's endeavoring into those cheeky little furry handcuffs, it might feel nice for you to be able to see or feel that key. Having it within your eyesight so you can be like, okay, great, there it is. We can use it anytime. So just a gentle little safety on there. And the emotional safety sides of it is making sure that your emotional comfort is all taken care of before you get into it. So since you're opening yourself up to being vulnerable, it's going to be essential to create a space of trust and care. So I know safety isn't the sexiest, but it is really important. So allow yourself to spend more time there than you may think. If we are diving into thinking about what kind of tools we can use, beginner-friendly tools are going to be something as, those little fuzzy handcuffs, which you can get at a store for pretty cheap. But you can also use any sort of household items. I stole my husband's necktie. This is delightfully long. You can have a lot of fun playing with this, and it can go, around your wrists or around your ankles. You can also also use something like a silk scarf or like a stretchy headband. I have like some bigger hair ties because I got a whole lot of hair. So sometimes it's nice to kind of wrap it around both wrists and seeing like, oh wow, like there's still space here. I could still get out if I needed, but it's like kind of a nice way to see, oh, how does this feel? And checking in with your body and seeing like, oh, is anything being triggered? Does it feel really fun and exciting, or does it feel like, oh my God, no, thank you, get me out of it? Always paying attention to that. And then Bless Love Honey, they sent me a whole bunch of toys a little while ago. And in that box that they sent me were these little Velcro cups. So it's super soft on the inside, which is really nice. I'm a big sensualist, so I want to make sure that whatever is touching my skin is going to feel good for me. Fuzzy handcuffs feel cheap and gross for myself personally, but this feels a little bit more elevated. It's got like a little bit of a rose gold clasp that can happen. And here's the other one. So this is it when it's all kind of together and rounded, and this is when it's open. But then you can go through and clip these things together, which is fun. So then you can have it be so they're behind your back. It can be over your head. But again, super soft, super nice. I can also get myself out of these, which makes me feel a little bit safer. So if I need to get out of it, I can just bite this. And I know for me, one of my personal boundaries is my hands are never behind my back. For me, that does not feel good. I don't enjoy that. And I like being like, okay, cool. If it's loose and I can get out of it easily, fine. Otherwise, if I know I can't get out of that, no, thank you. So that's my personal thing. So checking in and seeing how that feels. But otherwise, if you want to kind of wrap it around part of your bed, going up and over your head can be fun. This for me is fine. For whatever reason, when it's behind me all the way, no, thank you. But they also have ones that can go around your ankles. So this was a set. Here we are. Here are my other four. So this is a cool little set so it can go around your ankles, keep them around your wrists. You can have fun with all the different shapes. If you're super bendy like myself, you can get yourself in this really fun shapes, and I just like to wrestle around in them, like not even into the point of where it's taking something sexually immediately. Like for me, I'm like, no, 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 like let me try to wiggle out of this. Like let's see where we can have a little fun and play, because for me, I feel like sex and intimacy should be playful. It doesn't always have to be like down and dirty into it. Like you can ease in, you can slow in and see what happens. So those are just a couple of quick ones. And again, like I said, I want to be able to get out of anything. So, oh, another easy one is restraint tape. It feels similar to like electrical tape, but it isn't necessarily as like sticky as duct tape. So, right, if like you were gonna do that, that might feel like some Law and Order creepy shit. But if you're using bondage restraint tape, it's a little bit softer. It's easier to get off. You can get it, on the internet land. It isn't the most expensive, and it's kind of like an affordable way to go and play with that. But otherwise, look around your house, see what's available. Remember what I said? No neck play. So being aware of that, trying different knots and having fun with it. I was looking in my closet before I came in just to be like, oh, I wonder what else is around my house. And I looked, I have a silk robe, which has a tie around it, AKA bring that shit into the bedroom. Have some fun with that. But those are just our like cheeky little beginner ways that you can play. And the joys of it, if you're like, man, I can't find something and I don't want to go to a store and buy something specifically for this, we have our hands, right? So you can often explore what it's like to put body on body and see what it's like to have the weight of somebody else's hands around something on you where you can't get out of it. And it's generally easier because you're not working with a tool that needs to be undone. You can just be like, oh, release, please. And then that can happen. So nice and fun. Get a little creative. Have some fun with that. Um, I was just thinking, no, I said you can always tie yourself around to anything, which is also kind of silly and fun. So it doesn't always have to be the bed. It can be the leg of your couch. Have fun, explore all of the different sensations that can happen with this. And once you are tied up in a way that feels good for you, or you are tying somebody up, having fun with the different sensations that can build from that. So I know for me, if I've got my hands up over my head, I can't get to my torso, right? Like that's totally open and free. So I like to encourage my partner to go and grab like one of the fuzzy feathers. We have a lot of soft things in this household. Grab a fuzzy feather, drag it over my torso, play with it around my boobs, see how that feels, just to heighten those sensations before getting into any sort of direct genital play, if that's going to be a part of your scene that you're building in that moment. So having fun with different sensations is always great. And again, fine. You don't need to have a feather. You can do it with your fingers. It can just be light stroking, whatever it may be. But what I would encourage you to do is take a look around your house. Take and see what is available for you and just start to kind of play. I was sitting here before getting on live and just kind of like wrapping these things around me. And I was like, okay, wow. So I've got it to a point where it's a little bit tighter. I'm like, okay, this is kind of fun. And then it's so easy to get out of. So it's just kind of cheeky on that. I'll add in a bonus video on some easy knots that you can do, or you can do it with somebody else. And eventually we're going to come and we're going to do a longer workshop on the art of shibari, which is one of my favorite things. It was one of my beginner kinks that I got into, which is basically where you're using a very specific kind of rope and you're tying somebody up and you get to, what they're called, riggers and bunnies, right? So I love to be a bunny, but what I think is important in the kink realm is that you're always experiencing both sides. So if you are somebody who knows you like to be tied up, make sure that you're also learning how to tie and having fun with there, changing the just the aspects of the control and seeing, oh wow, what else could you enjoy? Because if you stick to one thing all of the time, you're going to forget that there is more pleasure and more play available for you. So go forth into your home, find something super fun and easy to kind of play with. And remember, start with conversation, an excessive amount of communication. What do you think you might like? And trying it out into the realm of where it's like, let's just sample it out now, and then taking it deeper, and then taking it deeper. And then maybe you start to bring that into your sexual practices where there is going to be penetration or something further. And then you can see like, oh, wow, does it heighten anything for you? And I always say, try everything twice. The first time, you probably are going to be like, what am I doing? Judgment is so easy to tap into. But the second time you try it, you might be a little bit more comfortable with it. And you might be like, whoa, heightened sensations in these areas, which is really fun. And when you're ending any of these things, remember aftercare, aftercare, aftercare. If you don't know what aftercare is, it is the time that you are spending outside of being tied up with someone or having then tied someone else up and having those moments of the connection, right? I'm a big skin on skin girl. Sometimes the nervous system can kind of be sent in one way or another. Sometimes when you are in different rope situations, what can happen is you can go to subspace, which is just a super tender area where you're going to need some time to come down from it and to tend to your nervous system with slow breathing. I like skin on skin and excessive amount of chatting afterwards of how did that feel for you? Was it fun? What happened? Where did I go? What did I get to see? And just having that, the cuddle moment or checking in on it emotionally. You might want an extra cozy blanket around for some comfort. All of this should feel fun. And if it ever doesn't, you're going to know, hey, maybe this isn't the kink for you to explore, or maybe it's not the one for you to explore right now. You can always message me and ask any questions on this, but just, taking a little bit of time and seeing how could you change your perception of what your intimacy looks like or what your relationship to kink is like, and having a lot of play and fun along the ride. I can't wait to do a shibari one. I can't wait to be tied up. And we will have a lot of fun with that. If you're interested in looking into it, shibari, Google that. If you want to find it on Instagram, a lot of people are calling it spicy macrame, which is really cute because we're constantly working around being shadow banned. But otherwise, go forth. Restrain yourself, have some fun, ask someone if you can tie them up. But remember, consent is everything. So go, have fun, hit me up if you need.